Today we have a very special guest joining us, a man who has worn many hats throughout his life, from being a successful pro football coach to becoming a thriving Chick-Fil-A franchisee, and most importantly, a passionate breast cancer advocate. We're excited to welcome Tony Levine to the show as he shares his journey of building a successful career and leveraging his platform to make a positive impact in the fight against breast cancer. With his involvement with the Rose, Tony has truly become a beacon of hope and inspiration for so many. Let's talk about your breast. A different kind of podcast presented to you by The Rose, a breast center of excellence and a Texas treasure. You're going to hear frank discussions about tough topics, and you're going to learn why knowing about your breast could save your life. Join us as we hear another story and we answer those tough questions that you may have. I've never seen so much stuff on the internet about anyone that we've interviewed yet, that's for sure. So you're going to have to tell us a little bit about your background.
I'll start, I guess, where I'm from. I'm from St. Paul, Minnesota, just north of here, born and raised. And I know it's not just north of here, but it's north of here. And I'm born and raised. My parents still live there, and my brother and his family still live there. And did a lot growing up, was involved throughout high school in a lot of sports, football, basketball, baseball, track, tennis, and soccer. And I was probably better at the saxophone, actually, than anything else. And ended up coming out of high school trying to decide between music and football or basketball. I ended up having the opportunity to go to the University of Minnesota as a walk-on football player. So,
what does that mean?
It's a great question. So there's two ways. In theory, there's two ways to play college athletics. One, to be recruited and offered a scholarship, where the schools obviously pay for everything. And then the other would be that you may or may not have been recruited, but asked to come and pay your own way, potentially for your entire career or potentially earning a scholarship at some point. So I was able to earn a scholarship my second year and end up playing receiver and starting for the Minnesota Golden Gophers, and went to college with the thought of being an accountant. My dad, as you and I speak, is up there. If it's not shoveling snow, he's doing a tax return right now. And my brother and I were going to plan was to be accountants and work with him. And really my sophomore year of college was my brother's freshman year. He was the lead trumpet player in the marching band at the University of Minnesota. And he and I got together and said, you know what, I don't know if we want to sit there in front of a computer all day and do tax returns. So we met with our dad and gave him the news. He said, that's great. I'm going to support you. And what do you want to do? And I said, I want to coach football. And he said he wanted to be a band director. So he's a high school band director in the Twin Cities. And I started about a 25-year career or so in coaching football. Moved all over the country. And my family and I got to Houston, Texas, January 3rd of 2008. And my bride's from Birmingham, Alabama, never been to Houston before, nor had I. And we fell in love with not only Houston, but the state of Texas, and coached at the University of Houston for a total of 7 years. And our kids at the time were, when I was coaching there, were 7, 5, 3, and 1. And coaching is a tremendous profession. You've got the opportunity to make a great impact on your players and even your assistants and the community that you're in. But if you're not careful, you can spend 99% of your time coaching and 1% of your time with your family. So kind of reached a point in my career where I wanted to try something different, but stay in Houston if we could. We absolutely love it here. See if there was something I could do where I could balance my career and spend a lot more time with my family. And then when we had that meeting with my dad, I know I'm giving you a long answer to your first simple question here, but
learning things.
But when we had that, maybe my brother and I met with our dad. He said, "I'm going to support you. I think it's great. I think you should do what you love." And the only question he asked is, "I'm just curious why do you want to be a band director?" To my brother Jeff, and why do you want to be a football coach? And I enjoyed the game of football. I'm a competitive person. My favorite sport growing up was basketball, but really at the time. And I think we got this from our parents. We really just wanted to do something where we felt like we could give back and impact people's lives. And I loved thought of teaching and coaching and training and encouraging and motivating. And I do, again, like competition. So, again, coached for almost 25 years as a career, and then had the opportunity to apply to get a Chick-fil-A franchise. And May of 2018, we opened up, and several months earlier, I resigned and left. At the time, I was at Purdue University as an assistant coach, and started our restaurant, and have absolutely loved it. We have, just briefly about the restaurant, we have almost 135 members of our team there, very diverse, which is one of the things we love about Houston, and diverse in every way: age, race, religion, culture, you name it. It's a part of our team, and it's been. Someone asked me one time, how does it feel not to coach anymore? And I feel like I'm still coaching. So it's a lot of the things that I loved about coaching football. It's very parallel, if you will, running the restaurant.
We even call your employees team. Correct.
Yeah, team members. In fact, I will politely and respectfully correct a guest or someone I know if they say, "Hey, I met one of your employees," I will say, "That's great. We call them team members, and that's how we look at our restaurant, look at our team."
Now, Tony, you've just told us a lifetime here in like 5 minutes, but you did take some time off in there somewhere and started thinking about what you really wanted to do. I mean, this was a very deliberate change in your life because you were being recruited. You were darn good at football, and you were really good at coaching. So was that something that you did as a family? Was it something that started with you? How did you make that decision to leave it?
Yes, well, thank you. No, great question, and you're correct. So one thing, I'll back up slightly. One thing that I don't know if your listeners are familiar with the coaching profession or not. In case they aren't, something that's been said a lot about at least football coaches at the college level and professional level is there's two types of football coaches: the coaches that have never been fired and coaches that haven't been fired yet. And for 19 years, I was in that second category. I hadn't gotten let go. And then after 7 years total at the University of Houston, for the first time in my career, a change was made and I was relieved of my job. So was offered several jobs and took 14 months off at the time just to reflect and look ahead and kind of figure out, what do we want kind of the next chapter to look like. So started the Chick-fil-A application process at that point, and really to get the franchise, the Chick-fil-A franchise, it was a 3.5-year process for me, with probably 15 interviews over about 3 years with 12 different people. So it was, they say there's about 100,000 people every year that apply for a Chick-fil-A franchise, and every year there's about 150 franchises that become available.
I was reading that and thinking, oh my gosh, I had no idea. This is not something you can just decide you're going to do. You really have to go through a process.
Correct. Yeah, it was a very, very extensive interview process. And one of the things, early on when I made the transition, I would have people, especially in coaching, say, "Well, you're a football coach. I can't believe you got out, or I can't believe you're making this transition." And I think one of the things for me that over the years I've seen people struggle with, I would say, is the word identity. And what I mean by that is my identity has always been I'm a husband and I'm a father. I absolutely, and I want to stress this, I absolutely loved coaching football, loved it. And again, did it as a career for almost 25 years and at the highest level, coaching the NFL and coach major college football. But that didn't define me, and that I didn't see that as who I was, if that made sense. So who I am to me is a husband and a father. So for me, the transition was very smooth in terms of our last game. I was coaching at Purdue. We played in the Foster Farms Bowl against Arizona on ESPN in January of 2018, and 5 months later, I was handing out barbecue sauce at a fast food restaurant with no problem, with absolute joy in my heart. So that was kind of the thought process of the transition for me and for our family.
So where in this timeline did Aaron be diagnosed with breast cancer?
Right as I was stepping away from coaching and making the transition to running the restaurant, She went in for just a routine exam and came home and said, hey, they felt something, and they said it's nothing, but they just want to make sure, and I need to go back tomorrow. So, okay. So she went back tomorrow and came home and said, they still said it's nothing, but now they want to have me come back again and have a biopsy. So now I said, well, this is sounding, I don't want to say a little bit more serious, but I'm definitely going to go with you to this appointment. So she and I went together. We live in Missouri City, and the appointment was in Sugar Land, and went to the appointment, and we were probably in and out. It feels like we were in and out in an hour, and went to lunch and went shopping for Christmas presents and spent the day together. And then a few days later, got the news that she had breast cancer. So that was just as we were beginning the early stages of preparation, really, to open the restaurant. So the year of 2018, our family opened the restaurant, and Aaron went through chemotherapy, surgery, radiation. That year, as we look back, is certainly a blur at this point. Mm-hmm. But she's been cancer-free now for 4 years or so. Feels great. It's doing wonderful. And I can't. We ended up going to the Baylor College of Medicine. They were fantastic. So not something anyone certainly thinks they're going to go through, would want to go through, but they were fantastic there. Everybody we've ever met with has been tremendous.
So what was her diagnosis? I mean, what stage was she?
They caught it early, so she was stage 1, and the treatments, obviously, with the surgery, mm-hmm. and 12 weeks of chemotherapy, and then 4 to 6 weeks of radiation was, I think I would say in our minds, very significant. I think she would say that as well. Mm-hmm. But they did catch it early, and for that we're certainly very grateful and fortunate.
Did you ever worry about she might not make it?
I don't think you can be prepared for this curveball being thrown at you. One day we're getting ready for the holidays coming up. We're getting ready for a bowl game coming up. We're getting ready for really my last game as a coach for my career coming up. And within 24 hours, a phone call and the words on the other end of that phone call become us as a married couple sitting in a room at a hospital waiting for someone to walk in with a white coat on that we've never met before to tell us, here's the plan, and here's the prognosis, and here's what the next 12 months are going to look like. And I remember when the doctor walked in, he said it's going to be a tough 12 months, but we've got a great plan in place. So nothing prepares you for that. And one of the things, and I think this is true in life, is you really ought to. We were telling our kids the other day, we eat as a family every night together, and we get a lot of great conversations. We were telling our children, we have 4 children, we were telling them the other day, if you wake up in the morning and then at the end of that day when you go to bed, if you hadn't had to go to the hospital or have a surgery and no one in your family or friends were injured or passed away, I mean, no matter what happened, it's been a great day. And I remember sitting in the hospital room, and you look out the window, and this is true as you and I speak right here for many, many others. The cars drive by in the street, and people go about their day and have no idea, what's going on in those rooms on the 12th floor. So, again, nothing can prepare you for that, and certainly a lot of thoughts go through your mind, and very blessed and fortunate that she's doing great right now.
How did you tell your kids?
It was not a great conversation. And at any age, when you hear that 6-letter word mm-hmm. that starts with a C, it can be very frightening. And certainly for our children, our oldest, Ben, at the time was 12. So our kids are 2 years apart. They were 12, 10, 8, and 6. And, we sat them down and said, this is something we need to tell you. And there's a plan in place, and there was a lot of prayer in our home, and still is certainly. And they all took it differently, and I think they would share with you also, individually they probably had times when they were either alone or at school, or where they were trying to reconcile what the news was that we gave them about their mama.
So were those 12 months hard physically on Erin? Or, did she manage the chemo, manage the radiation? So many women have different reactions.
I would say she's, a lot of women are tough. She is tough. As I was watching her, I would tell you it was hard. She would say, she was, and she would tell you this if she were here right now, she would say, the doctor said, this is the plan, let's go do the plan. And, fatigue and nausea, and she lost all of her hair. And there was a lot of things that came, as side effects. But for her, there was a vision of what's to come once she gets through this. And I think that really kept her motivated and kept her going I know I've got to go back for this treatment, and I know what the next week is going to be like after the treatment with the side effects. But you know what? I know there's a light at the end of the tunnel. I think that her faith, and I think that knowing that this was coming at the end, what was to come with our family, got her through it. So she would say it was tough, but she knew this is what I've got to do, and I'm going to do it.
So who carried who during that time?
Well, it was a lot of carrying each other going on. And the one thing about Chick-Fil-A, they actually are an unbelievable company to be a part of, to partner with. And one of the things that, one of the words I would say that I feel like I've got a good grasp of, I feel like I do, is the word perspective. And I see people all the time that, specifically in their businesses, situations can become very stressful for them. And even at Chick-fil-A, I'll see times, I'll hear someone say, I'm really stressed out. We didn't get our Polynesian sauce on the delivery this morning. And I'm thinking, you know what, that's unfortunate for some guests that come today that really love Polynesian sauce. But I think the perspective could be a little bit different, if that makes sense, on what's truly important. So the reason I share that with you is when we opened the restaurant, I remember people, either Chick-fil-A owners or some people that have been, close to Chick-fil-A, have said, hey, the first 18 months of owning a Chick-fil-A, it's going to be early mornings, late nights, sleeping there, smelling like chicken. And it was a lot of hard work, but it never took priority over the care for Erin and certainly our family. So even on the fourth day that we were open, she had a doctor's appointment, and I went with her to the doctor's appointment and never felt like I needed to check on the restaurant or check my phone and see how the team was doing or the restaurant was doing. So I think perspective is something that I feel like I've got a good grasp on that word.
You went with her to a lot of the therapies or to all?
Yeah, all of them.
A lot of people don't have that support.
Well, and that's when the word you just said, support, I think is very important. I would never want her to feel like she's going through that alone or by herself. And again, one of the, I don't know if unique is the right word, but one of the unique things about our family and the fact we're living in Houston and have been for the last 16 years is that being from Minnesota and Erin being from Alabama, we have no family here. So we are our own family, if you will, and certainly her family from Alabama came in, and mine did as well from Minnesota, but that can't be a permanent stay. So, it's very important for me that I was there with her at every appointment to, give her the support and then certainly to be a sounding board for her and to be able to ask questions as well.
Did you research what was going on with her? Did you have questions when she went in to the doctor? Were you as curious as she was?
Well, two things come to mind when you ask that. I think one is, one of the, I don't know, I'm not going to state this as a fact, but it's my gut that tells me one of the most popular doctors today is Google. And I think a lot of people probably make the mistake when they hear anything, or even if they feel something, I have a pain on my right elbow, and they go right to Google and type that in. So, I think you got to be careful what you type into the internet and ask Google at times. And the other thing is, and I was just telling Aaron this the other day, because we had a meeting with one of our kids' potential schools for next year, and I'm a question asker, and I've always, a couple of things. One, as a coach, whenever I'd have presentations to families or recruits and their families, I would always give the line of, hey, there's no such thing as a bad question, and if someone's thinking the question, there's probably others out there thinking the question as well. So now that sometimes I find myself on the other side of that, where someone's presenting to me or someone's giving me information, I do like to ask questions. And I think as you ask questions and hear an answer, probably like this podcast, other questions arise that you maybe weren't prepared to ask. So I've always been a big question asker. I've never been one to apologize if someone said, "Oh, that was a bad question." Well, you know what? I didn't know the answer, so I wanted to ask it. So I think that was important as we went through that, to ask a lot of questions.
Oh, yes. That is a theme we hear all the time. The woman didn't want to ask. She was, not comfortable asking the doctor because she had just given them this whole prognosis. And I think most of us, when we get into that world of medicine, it doesn't matter. You're listening to a whole different language. Absolutely.
And one of the things, and I'll maybe relate this a little bit to our restaurant, to Chick-Fil-A now. One of the things we strive to do as much as anything at our restaurant is really foster an environment of customer service. And so I think when I think of the doctors and the nurses and the surgeons, I think that, the old quote or phrase, the bedside manner, I mean, just to be able to ask questions. Our surgeon, for example, she came in and it was almost like there was nothing else for her to do, in terms of there was nothing else on her schedule or agenda that day than to sit with Aaron Levine and answer her questions over and over, and just to comfort us on what the procedure is going to be. And, I think, I don't want to say that anyone would take that for granted, but just the impact that had and continues to have is just absolutely can't put into words how much that meant.
So many studies have been done about how the patient feels about the doctor. Is there confidence there? Is there, can really impact recovery. If you have faith in your doctor and you're going to do what they say, then you're just going to do better. We see it all the time. So that was phenomenal that she took that time. And
it meant a lot, absolutely. And we told her that it meant a lot.
So let's fast forward now. You've got your restaurant open, and you've always been community-minded. What brought you to the Rose?
As I was going through the 3+ years of my interview process, selection process with Chick-Fil-A, one of the things that I told them over and over and over, to the point where as I was getting closer to maybe the finish line, if you will, they were saying, you keep telling us the same thing and we get it. And it was almost sounding like I was saying it for them, thinking that this is what they wanted to hear from me. But the common theme, among other things, was that we wanted to make a difference in people's lives and make a positive impact in our community, and try to find creative ways to do that. And not just, I use the word transactional, not just sell chicken and have a guest come in, place their order, take their money, give them the chicken sandwich or what they ordered. So as we were trying to figure out ways, in different ways, obviously breast cancer became something that we became passionate about almost overnight, and as we were opening the restaurant. So October being National Breast Cancer Awareness Month, I did do some research prior to October of 2018. So our restaurant had been open at the time 3 or 4 months. July, August, yes, I guess it was good math right there off the top of my head. 3 or 4 months, having just opened that May of 18. And wanted to do something special for the month of October, being that it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and did a little research on what some businesses are doing. And I called several business owners, said, hey, do you do anything for this? And many of them said yes. And then, my follow-up question, what is it that you do? And support is support, and that's fantastic. But we wanted to try to do something maybe a little more impactful, if that makes sense. So we did that October, where we had only been open 4 months, and we're still trying to figure out how to even run the business, is we did all of our cookie sales. We're going to the Rose. And several of our guests down in Missouri City, knowing Aaron's story and also knowing that we were going to be passionate about this, approached me and said, you know what, you got to meet Dorothy at the Rose. We got to get you connected. They mentioned about your RVs that come out and do the mobile mammograms. So it just felt like it was meant to be. And one of the things we do at our restaurant every October is we make custom pink Chick-Fil-A shirts to again, create awareness. And so we did all of our cookie sales to your amazing, incredible organization. And the first year, I think we presented a check to you just over $4,000.
I was about to say that, people think cookie sales, but if they're Chick-fil-A cookie sales, and everybody is encouraging customers to purchase them. Correct. Because it's going for a good cause.
Well, it's our community. It's I don't know what the word is. It's incredible how many people would come in and say, you know what, I have an aunt that is a breast cancer survivor, a family member, a friend. We had community members come in and say, I don't want any recognition or anything, but I want to buy 250 cookies right now because of the support of the Rose. And I think in the 5 Octobers that we've done this now, 2 years ago, we I think brought a check for over $9,000. Mm-hmm. So we're over $35,000 now in the 5 years. I'm going to say 2 things. One, our team, absolutely, they cannot wait till October because they put the breast cancer Chick-fil-A shirts on that are pink, and they are so excited to ask every guest that comes in, or we take their order outside at the drive-thru, would you like to purchase a cookie to support breast cancer awareness and support the Rose? And they just take a lot of pride. They know right now October's coming up and we can't wait to do it. But more importantly, and this may be a question you're going to ask, but I'll jump to it, is, having your RVs come out to our restaurant parking lot now 10 times. It's been 10 times. It would be 4 times this year. We're on the calendar for 4 times this year. We've had 2. We'll have 2 more, 4 once a quarter, to provide anywhere from 25 to 30 women with mammograms. Has just been absolutely tremendous, and obviously it's confidential. But the thing I will share with you is there have been numerous, I will say, times where I've been in our community, whether it's the grocery store or at an event for our children at their school, and I've had women approach me and say, hey, I had my mammogram there, and it's gets me choked up at times. I've had a couple that said I've had my mammogram there, and they did find something. So it's really been, we've had over 200 women at our restaurant get their mammograms, and that's just been absolutely incredible.
I'll never forget when we got that first call from you about, I'd like to have the mobile coach out. I think you came around that time to talk about it. Mm-hmm. And, Tony, you get a lot of people who really want the coach to come out, and they don't have that commitment, or they don't realize how hard it is to recruit people, because there's thousands of things women would rather do than have a mammogram. But then you said, and I don't know if you're going to continue this forever, but then you said, well, I'm going to give them free Chick-fil-A for a year. We all went, well, who wouldn't go there? My gosh, it was such a generous offer, but also that combining something that's a true reward for taking care of yourself. This show is all about encouraging women to take care of themselves. Sometimes we need that kind of motivation. And of course, your days fill up in what, 4 hours?
I don't want to correct you on the podcast, but about 30 minutes now.
Oh, 30 minutes.
About 30 minutes, yeah.
They just know when it opens or they're on it.
No, well, it's a good question. So I'm going to back up slightly. Yes, so when we had our meeting with you and you saw the passion, Aaron was at the meeting with me and you saw the passion we had for it. And you did say, I just need to let you know because you're very passionate. You said women have jobs, women have families. Sometimes it's hard to get enough to sign up. And that's when I said, we can give them an incentive. I said, we have food and some people like our food. And what if we did free Chick-Fil-A for a year for every woman that gets her mammogram? So no, that will never stop. And so we actually, we have a database of guests of over 18,000 email addresses. And then we're on our social media on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. So when we post it now our community has come to know that we do this, every quarter, every 6 months or so. But so when we post it on social media, we say, here's the link. We're having the Rose back on this date and this time to provide women with mammograms. And then we put every woman that signs up and receives her mammogram will get free Chick-fil-A at our restaurant for a year. Candace Sexton always sends me an email 30 minutes later and says, all right, it's full.
Wow. I didn't realize it had gotten that fast.
That fast. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, that fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, again, tell us where the restaurant is located.
So we're down in Missouri City on Highway 6, not far from the Fort Bend toll road. So there's a subdivision there called Sienna. There's a couple of high schools on Highway 6, Hightower High School and Elkins High School, right in between Hightower and Elkins, right there, right off the Fort Bend toll road on Highway 6 in front of an Academy Sporting Goods.
And I think the other thing that you've addressed with women are with this whole needing a mammogram. Some women just aren't going to travel. They aren't going to go into town. They're not going to go to that hospital and have to wait forever. And I think what you do is you make it convenient for them, besides the incentive, but it's so convenient to just go to your place and have your mammogram.
Well, and I'm going to say it's what you do. We just have the location. It's what you do. And that's, you and I have talked before, and now that you have, I believe, 3 RVs? 5, oh my goodness. So, I mean, what you do is just tremendous. So we feel like we're just a place for your RVs to spend the day and park, and we feed your staff. And his staff does so much more than that. We go there, and it's like we are kings and queens coming in because everyone knows the Rose people are there, treated so well. But it's the same way you treat all your customers, and I've seen that with your team. Let's just talk about your team for a minute because I think you have so much to share, not just about breast cancer, not just about mammograms, but about community. It's hard to build community so hard many times. But your community starts with your team. And did I read right that you gave 26 scholarships last year? We did. And you know what? I was gonna show you this video earlier, and I didn't get a chance to. I'll show you when we're done. We just gave 22 this year. We just announced it yesterday. So I mentioned earlier we have 135 members of our team, and about 90 are students. So that could be high school students. Some are in college naturally. And so we do, Chick-fil-A has a program where students can apply to get $2,500 college scholarships. It's based on your volunteer and community service and then your grade point average. And it's very, very competitive. And we just actually announced yesterday, as you and I are visiting here, but we announced yesterday that 22 of our students this year got $2,500 college scholarships. And so in the 5 years we've been open, we've had 95 of our team members get college scholarships totaling over $235,000. So very, very impactful, very life-changing, for many of our team members that we are always at our restaurant. And I can't stress this enough, and really to the point when I mentioned earlier as I was going through the interview process, they kept hearing me say this over and over, but we're always trying to find creative and impactful ways to make a difference in the lives of our community members and our team members. And one of my phrases that I believe in and I kind of live my life on is cared for people, care for people. Cared for people, care for people. So we really, really, really make it a point to show our genuine care. And I do, if you will, from the top down, trying to our leaders and then to our team members, how much we care about them, genuinely care for them. And I feel like that then trickles to our guests as well. And they feel that really love and care and support from our team when they come to our restaurant. And
to get these scholarships, do you help them? Do you allow them to go do volunteer work or?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So a lot of the events we do at our restaurant, we give them the opportunity to volunteer for them. Now, I don't want this to come across wrong. I mean, we have events at a restaurant,
right,
like a kids camp in the summer. We're the only Chick-Fil-A in the country that does a little kids youth camp in the summer. We have 8 of them, and our team members work those as camp counselors, if you will, and they're paid for that. But like, for instance, one of our team members last fall came to me and said, "I love cars. Could we have a car show here one Saturday afternoon, an exotic classic car show, and then ask our guests to bring non-perishable food items to donate to a food pantry?" I said, "Absolutely. I love that idea." So he organized it, and then he got with a lot of our team members and said, "Hey, we're going to do this car show." He actually needed to do a community service project to become an Eagle Scout, but then he recruited a lot of our team members to work the car show for volunteer hours and kind of man the Chick-fil-A tent to collect the canned food items. So we had 75 cars show up. We shut down the parking lot. It was incredible. Thousands of people showed up, and the food was overflowing that was donated. So I'm giving you an example of, yes, we have many events and different projects that we do at our restaurant throughout the course of the year where they can get community service and volunteer hours. And one of the things I do is, and I've done it already, is I make sure our students that are eligible to apply next year, like ones that are finishing their junior year of high school, for instance, that can apply their senior year prior to becoming a freshman in college, that they are aware of, hey, now is the time to get community service and volunteer hours. It's actually the number one thing Chick-fil-A looks at in determining who receives these scholarships. So they have a lot of opportunities and a lot of notice to get their volunteer hours in prior to applying for the scholarships.
I know that your first love was football, but how does that compare with what you're doing now? Do you get as much satisfaction out of seeing these young people grow and as you did helping young people play ball?
I do. It's a great question. As I was going through the selection process and the interview process to get the Chick-fil-A franchise, I was trying to convince everyone interviewing me that there were a tremendous amount of parallels between coaching football, believe it or not, and running a Chick-fil-A restaurant. Again, now that I've been doing it for going on 5 years, there's more than I even imagined. And I've always been passionate about trying to impact people's lives and make a difference in people's lives. And one of the things one of our top directors at our restaurant likes to talk about is we're hoping to get invited to our team members' weddings one day. That's the type of impact we want to make on their lives. And I was at a grocery store last week with Aaron, and we ran into one of our team members who next month, so she started with us when we opened, and then she just left our team within the last year as she's graduating from Texas A&M. And so she was with us for about 4 years, and we ran into her in the grocery store, and I mean, we saw each other, and she ran over, and we hugged, and her name's Jasmine. I said, "Jasmine, give us the update. What's the plan?" And she was talking about, I've got to decide now between graduate school at Columbia, Tulane. She named 5 schools. 2 or 3 were Ivy League schools, and for something in the medical field, it was such a long word. Normally I don't say words that I can't spell, and there's no way I could spell this word. But something in the medical field, And when Aaron and I got in the car, I was like, Aaron, unbelievable. And I don't know if we had any impact on her or not, but just seeing her when she joined our team as a high school junior, and now she's talking about potentially going to a couple of these Ivy League schools or Tulane, and is going to be a doctor one day. It was like, wow, that to me, that's what life's all about. And so when you ask about parallels, and again, I mentioned earlier the teaching, the training, the coaching, the competition, the motivating, the encouraging, the development and growth. That's something that I've always been passionate about, and I feel like I've never even stopped doing that from my transition to coaching to running the restaurant.
So you think that's a motivation for everything you do? Is that the other mantra of your life?
Probably is. I love football, and I loved coaching football, and probably like college a little bit more in terms of now watching it than the NFL, although I like the NFL, but I probably on a Saturday I could sit there all day I don't, but I could sit there all day and watch college football. But I think it's Tyler White, who played for me at Houston, texting me last week and saying, Coach, surprise, I'm in your dining room. And I was in the back office, and I walk up and there's Tyler in our restaurant, drove down to take a shot and see if I was in. And it was close to dinner time, and we sat there for an hour and caught up and had some great times reminiscing about his playing days and his growth and development. And so those things mean so much more to me, the relationships and having a player I coached tell me, now I'm in my late 20s or 30s and I have a family, and I remember you said this, or I remember seeing you and your family like this, and that means a lot more to me than any touchdowns we scored or interceptions we had on defense.
What are your dreams for your children?
I was telling Aaron the other day, one of the things that my dad taught me, and I say taught me by me just observing and reflecting, is when my brother and I said, hey, we're going to go study business and study accounting and work with you and be accountants. And then we come back and say, you know what? He wants to be a band director and I want to coach the game of football. And he said, go do it. Do what you love, and I'm going to support you. I think for us, that's important. And our son, Ben, is finishing up his senior year of high school. He's going to go to Samford University in Birmingham, Alabama. And I think sometimes, I know I'll just reference me. I think sometimes if you're not careful as a parent, but I'm talking about myself, I want to be clear on that. No other parents listening to this podcast, but you can say, I see them doing this, and I think they really should do this, and I think they should go here, and I think they should work there, and I think they should study this. And I think at the end of the day, we're called to be supportive and, give them wisdom, and I think also have the discernment to know when to provide it and when to let them figure it out. I think one of the things I've always thought, I think everybody makes mistakes in life. Everybody does. And I think it's important when you make a mistake, to admit it, to learn from it, and then I think to try not to repeat it. And I think sometimes, and again, I'm only talking about myself as a father, you want to try to help your children avoid all these mistakes. And I think maybe sometimes you're doing them justice. You should sometimes they gotta make a decision and learn from it. So I don't know. I haven't answered your question yet. One of my dreams and goals, that they do something that they love and that they give back. I think it's important to try to make a difference in people's lives, and hopefully how I share with you that my dad taught me things from just watching him. I would hope they would see some of the things that we're trying to do, and maybe it inspires them at some point as well.
Does he know what he wants to be?
You know what? He when he goes to Chick-Fil-A to eat, he doesn't know what he wants to order. So he's very indecisive. That's my point. So, and he would tell you that. So there's some some things he's considering, and I don't think he knows just yet, and doesn't need to probably declare anything till a year or two into school.
But you believed in education. I mean, you certainly 2 masters. My gosh. And you really had to earn some of those in a very unique way.
Yes, I have 2 master's degrees. So I did my undergraduate at the University of Minnesota, and then I got my first master's degree at, I still say it's Southwest Texas State. Now they've taken off the Southwest and become fancy. It's just Texas State, but Southwest Texas State in San Marcos, and then got a second master's degree at Auburn when I was coaching at Southwest Texas and coaching at Auburn. So yeah, those were busy times, and did a lot. I remember being exhausted in breaking down film and game planning and coaching and recruiting, and then I gotta go to class, and I got papers to write and presentations to give. So, but yes, education has always been something that has been important to me, and it's something that not only have we stressed to our kids, but it's something that when you talk about the scholarships at the restaurant, that I've really encouraged our team members to pursue those scholarships to further their education as well.
So, Coach Tony, it's 50 years after your death, and you can look back and see your imprint. What do you hope to see? You
know what? I get asked that question all the time. No, I'm kidding. I've never been asked that question. One of the things, I don't know, this jumps in my mind, and it's, I've got a couple of different phrases or verses that I feel strongly about and try to live my life according to. And I don't know, when you ask me that question, what jumps in my mind is the verse, love your neighbor. And I would just hope that, as we have team members that work at our restaurant, as we have guests that come to our restaurant and see what we try to do and see the impact we try to make, and I think the love we try to spread, and players that I've coached over the years, and then certainly our 4 children, that maybe there would be an effect or a trickle-down effect to where we've made an impact on people's lives, to where, you've heard the phrase pay it forward, and I don't know if that's what I'm referring to necessarily or not, but to where, I was treated a certain way and it impacted me, and I'm gonna treat others the way that I was treated by Tony Levine.
Well, I certainly know some women who had their mammograms on the coaches at your place who you actually gave life to. In the end, we caught it early, and they're going to be around for a long, long time. So sometimes even when you don't mean to, or when you don't know that's the outcome and you just care, it really can have a difference in someone's life.
Absolutely.
So anything else you want to share with our listeners?
You know what? I just want to tell you thank you again. I mean, truly being asked to be a part of this, it was an absolute yes. I haven't been on any podcasts, and I do get asked, and it's a little bit of a commitment, and that's not why I don't do some, but we're busy with our children right now and the restaurant and some other things. And but when I got your email, it was an immediate yes, and truly honored to be on with you today, and really thank you for all you do. I've said this to you before, but I'll say it on your podcast, because the difference that you and your team make and what you do is absolutely remarkable. So it goes a long way, and you impacted thousands among thousands. So thank you, Dorothy, for what you do.
Thank you so much. And thank you for being the kind of person that's going to give away Chick-Fil-A for a year just for a woman to go and have a mammogram. I think that is I wish everybody could come up with something that creative when they're holding these events.
Well, and I would, if we got 30 more seconds, I would, who's ever listening, I would challenge them to find ways to make a difference and find ways to impact people's lives, and be creative and think outside the box. It's free Chick-fil-A for a year. If 20 years from now we've given thousands of mammograms and only one showed up with breast cancer, then the thousands and thousands of free Chick-fil-A for a year was worth it. And so, find creative ways to make a difference. I just think that's what it's about. I've got, at our home, I've got an office, and in our office, I've got football game balls and plaques and trophies, and it's fun to look at, but you know what? It collects dust, and it just sits there. And so I think, to me, what life's about is trying to make a difference with others. So I would encourage anyone listening to try to take some time and think, if they're not already, how they could make a difference in people's lives.
I think that's great advice, encouragement, because we've seen how you've been able to do it, even for your team member to have had the idea of the car show. I'm just amazed. You just never know where these ideas are going to come from. So thank you again for being with us. This is Tony Levine, known better as Coach Tony, and he is helping the Rose give out so many more mammograms, serve so many more people, and we appreciate you, Tony.
Well, thank you. It's truly our pleasure.
Thank you for joining us today on Let's Talk About Your Breasts. This podcast is brought to you by The Rose. Visit therose.org to learn more about our organization. Subscribe to our podcast, share episodes with friends, and join the conversation on social media using hashtag Let's Talk About Your Breasts. We welcome your feedback and suggestions. Consider supporting The Rose. Your gift can make the difference to a person in need. And remember, self-care is not selfish. It's essential.